Levi Giles, welcome to the Fight Game podcast. I always start the pod the exact same way, and I just ask you in your own words to introduce yourself.
Yes, mate. Thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm Levi Giles from Grimsby. Not many people will know where that is like. I've had 20 professional fights now, going into my 21st in a couple of weeks' time for the English lightweight title. And that's me. I had a decent amateur career. I had 54 fights leading into, I boxed some real good kids, but big thing was before going into these bigger fights and stuff, I was always like sort of just happy to be there, and not really believing that I could beat these kids. But now things are different now, going forward, and the last couple of years have been quite different, yeah. But yeah, that's me, mate. Part-time scaffolder, full-time boxer, or the other way around.
Nice. So, you started boxing at 9 years old, and like
Yes,
you say,
mate.
you had plenty of amateur experience. You boxed some of the best lads in the country before turning professional in 2017. How do you think that quite a wealthy amateur apprenticeship has sort of put you in good stead for the professional ranks?
Oh, definitely. I think it's good to have that background, the discipline, and a real good look into how things are going to be moving forward. Even though that being said, the amateur game and the pro games is like two totally different sports. The aim's the same. You're going in, you're getting punched and stuff like that, but the intensity and the lifestyle itself, to be honest, it is kind of two different things. So I can see why a lot of people that do come from your like unlicensed backgrounds and stuff like that, they have just as much success. Well, especially when you look at the likes of Fabio Wardley and people like that, they have just as much success. So I won't say it's something you need. I won't say, oh, you need that amateur experience, but I definitely think I'd say it 100% does help you before you turn over. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So you turned over and you're very much like a mainstay in the domestic scene now.
Yeah.
You've been around for a long time. We're coming up on 10 years as a pro, 20 years in the game as a
Yeah.
whole. How do you think the sort of scene domestically, like the level of British fighters has risen in those 10 years as a professional for you?
Oh, definitely. When you look at how it was years ago, and when you look at it now, I think being a big fan of the sport as well as someone that actually fights and stuff as well. I think it's in some ways, some weight divisions have got a lot better, and some have got a lot, some aren't as good as what they used to be. But I think as far as technically goes, I think I think this day and age, I think fighters are a lot technically better than what they used to be. Although I prefer the older generational fighters, yeah, your Sugar Rays and your going back that time, or even 10 years ago, with your Anthony Corollas, your Terry Matthews, and people like that. I enjoyed them type of fights, and when you watch them kind of fights, they was ones I thought, oh, I really want to be. I'd love to be involved in fights like that. So to get these fights now, where I'm in that, I'm in with these kids. I think I can't wait. Just to go in. I always set out. I didn't really have any intentions when I turned over as a professional. I didn't like. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Like I said before, I was like, I was just happy to. When I got a phone call and said, "Do you want to turn professional?" I didn't have any. I didn't really have any goals until I started getting to a decent level and I was sparring these good kids. I thought, you know what, I can probably do something here now, and that's when the tables turned a little bit. I've always trained really hard, but it was all to do with the mindset, and now I know that I can go on and do some big things in boxing.
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned there, you mentioned a couple of domestic fighters who obviously Anthony Crolla went on to the world level,
Yeah,
but they were most well known for their domestic dust ups, having
yeah,
great fights at British level, European level. And you've already put your name in that mix, having some great fights on the domestic scene, whether
yeah,
it's the Michael Gomez fight or the Razak Najib fight and the Kes Ashfaq fight. These are
yeah.
great. How do you think now you're starting to look past that, having really good dust ups at domestic level, to getting your foot over the finish line and starting to pick up the wins in these fights and moving on past that level?
I think firstly, it's experience building, and secondly, it come down to preparation for fights. The weight, I think the weight was a big part. I might not look the biggest the biggest at super featherweight, but it was a real struggle, making that 58 kilo. It was a real struggle, and it kind of ended up where it was like mainly in the Ashfaq fight, it was like it was just a chore to make the weight. It was like, right, I've got like 2 fights here now. I've got a fight getting on the scales, and then I've got a fight Kez Ashfaq. Um, and I wasn't really, I just wasn't enjoying it as much. I thought, you know what, I don't want to kill myself making a weight just to box. I thought, you know what, I'm going to make the move up, and everything's happier. And I think when you're happier, I think that's massive. So when I take all that experience in them fights and the way I am now, and the way I'm sparring, the way I'm training, how more comfortable I am within making the weight and stuff like that. I think yeah, it's just all little bits and everything's coming together now. I know it is a big ask on the 21st, but and it'll be a massive shock to people when we go in and do the job. But to us around us, it won't be a big. It ain't a massive upset in our heads, what the bookmakers say and what's reality is. Yeah, and I know Giorgio's a good kid, but everyone's beatable. It's boxing, and that's another frustrating thing when going back, like the amount of fights I've accepted over the years, and it just ain't got over the line. So you only get like with Belotti and Gomez. I think I had 4 weeks for Gomez, and like Belotti, I only had 5 weeks. It was like you. So I thought, right now, I know you're going to have to stay within some kind of region of weight because I'm never going to get more than 4 or 5 weeks with these good kids, and that's just part parcel of the sport. But we've had a good long camp this time. Um, I did get offered a big fight in January, but unfortunately I was away most of that month, so I couldn't actually. That's the only fight I've ever had to say, oh, I can't do it, and that was just due to me not being here. I thought I can't go into a fight with no preparation, even though to be honest, I'd have probably said yes, but when you put it to me team, they're like, yeah, it's just it's a stupid move. And then this fight's come about, so yeah, it's I think everything just falls together in like I think it all just turns around in one go. Like you need a bit of luck in the game as well, and I think I've had that now. I think I've had the luck. I've had the long camp. There's no excuses now. It's just going in and doing what we know I can do.
Yeah, so you mentioned there about your team, and I think something that's really interesting and unique about you is you've been at the same gym since you were 9 years old.
Yeah,
So as you say there about your team said like that's not sensible, don't take this fight. Obviously, it's important to have a strong team around you, but I can imagine that your team at I believe it's just Grimsby Amateur Boxing Club that you're still at now.
yeah,
That must
yeah.
be
So we
like
still
family.
train there. Yeah, and it's the best thing is loyalty's big in boxing. It's huge. I mean, when you look at the likes of like what Conor Ben's just done and and how much they get slated and stuff like that. That's going on all the time. It's only because Connor's a big name. Um, the thing is, you don't know. I don't think when you look at boxing as a business, which it is, especially when you get to the higher end of it, it's more of a business than it is. I was saying to the lads actually, I'm like, you know what? When I retire and all this is done, I'm very happy to leave the business side of boxing like that. I'll be happy to say, you know what? I'm glad that's gone. Other than me missing I missed the fighting and the training and everything that comes with it. But the business side's probably the worst. But when you come to a team, when you've been with them years and years, they've got your best interest at heart, and we just get on. We're just like, what I mean? They're like me big brothers. That see me come on from being 9 all the way to 29 now, nearly touching 30. So it's big, and I'm quite big on loyalty. So it's really big for me that, and as a team, yeah, you're right. It's good.
Yeah, and it's great to see, a unit like that going from, like you say, 9 years old to competing for British titles, and obviously you have the English title fight coming up. So you've got the fight coming up with Giorgio Visioli, who
Yeah,
is being touted as one of the brightest prospects in
yeah,
British boxing, and across the pond, people are paying attention to him. He's 10-0, was a great amateur standout, and he's the current English champion, winning it in
yeah.
his last fight. I've seen you repeatedly referring to this as against all odds and how it's not going to be an upset in your eyes when you beat him. I just want to dive in a little bit to that against all odds,
Yeah.
and what it is you mean when you're saying that.
I mean, like people aren't stupid. What the script here is that I turn up on the night. I give him a decent fight. He gets the win and he pushes on. I think that's just common knowledge to a normal boxing, someone that watches the sport and they know how good Giorgio is, because he's very talented. He's a good kid. Um, but I think all the experience and stuff like that, we know as a team we've got a good game plan. It's going to be a tough fight, but that's what we prepared for, and all the experience over the years and going into this fight. It's kind of like just giving me a little edge, like a thing in my mind to say, just keep telling me, saying that, and we're gonna win, we're gonna win, we're gonna win, we're putting the work in. No one is gonna see this coming. I think it'll be one of the biggest upsets, when we win on March 21st. Because I am confident in myself. Me full team's confident. We're all smiling. It's good. And I think it's going to be a great fight. I've got to turn it into a good fight, because obviously if I just sit back all night, then we know what he can do. So yeah, but yeah, when I say against all odds, basically when you look at the bookmakers, this is a one horse race, but we don't see it like that. I think it's a very much 50-50. I think I'm going to be his biggest test to date. I don't know how he's seeing it. Obviously, he's tipped to do big things. He's got people around him telling him he's going to do big things, and obviously he believes himself with what he's done already in the sport, and what he did as an amateur and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a real. I think we're two different like ends of a scale. What someone's meant to do and what's going to happen. I think, but yeah, mentally, obviously he's not. He'll go into the fight thinking, I hope he is overlooking me in many ways. If he goes by what the bookmakers are saying and he does overlook me, then I think he's going to be in for a bit of a shock. But it's just for me to go in and prove that. I ain't really one for sitting and slating people or anything like that, because obviously you can't slate what he's done because he hasn't done anything wrong. He's a good boxer. He's sharp, and what he did as an amateur, he's very talented. But it's just for me to go in and exploit little things what we've seen, and put it all together on March 21st. And I'm just very excited for it. There's no pressure on me. I hadn't had to run around selling loads of tickets, even though I've done a fair few. And we just enjoyed it. The camp's been enjoyable. I've been working really hard. Like I say, we've sparred really well. We've had good southpaw sparring with the likes of Corey O'Regan and Maxi. And everything's just good. Everything's flying. It's going to be a real good night, and this probably one of the most excited I've been. I'm excited for every fight, but this one's I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, so obviously going into this one, you are quite significantly the more experienced fighter in the pro ranks. You've had two fights where you've gone the 10 round distance, and then you've also gone the 12 with Reece
Yeah,
Bellotti, who is a very, very good domestic level fighter. But one of those 10 round fights was also against a highly touted amateur standout in Kes Hashfaq. Like Olympian, Commonwealth silver medalist, and I imagine it's similar tactics of you're going in there as the acid test, the rough aggressive pro, and getting in their face, using the strong jab, and seeing what they're about under pressure. So how do you feel with that experience of going the rounds multiple times now? Obviously, this being a 10 round fight for the English title, and that added pro experience of being that little bit more rough and tumble and having the hard fights is going to go in your favour this time round.
yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's no disrespect to Kes Ashfaq. What he did as an amateur as well was very, very good. Very good fighter and a great person. Kes is real nice bloke. But I think Giorgio is going to be a bit sharper. He's got youth on his age, so I'm expecting Giorgio to be a lot sharper. And obviously the way they both move is a little bit different. But obviously you are right in what you're saying. We've got to rough him up. We've got to make it. I can't just be within that range of letting him work and then me being out of range and not being able to do much. So I've got to use my own feet and make it an hard night for him. I've got to real rough him up and put it into exact same thing as what you said. Put him under that pressure and give him that, be in his face for the full 10 rounds, and then see how he copes with it, because I don't think he's had that yet. I think Awaf did some of the right things in the fight. I just don't think he could let the trigger go. I think when he pushed him back, I think Giorgio did look a bit uncomfortable at times. But even though he definitely won the fight, he looked decent doing it. But I think Awaf did do things in the fight which showed that he is a bit uncomfortable in them positions. And now I've done the 10 round. The fitness and stuff isn't an issue at all. I know I can do 10 rounds at a very high pace. We've been sparring 10 rounds at a very good pace in a gym, and yeah, that's not even in my head. I'm I work so hard where I'm not really fussed on the rounds. I'm not fussed about getting tired. It's just about going in there now and just doing exactly what we've been doing, inspiring him. But yeah, just putting it on him for 10 rounds. And to be honest, I think that's probably what he's going to expect, and I expect him to do the same thing, moving all night, and using his boxing ability. I think that, I think that's the way it's going to go. I can't see him standing with us and trading or coming, being the aggressor in the fight. I think he's just going to stick to what he does best, and I've got to do what we've been doing best in the gym. And I think it's going to be, it could be an exciting fight.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. When I saw that card get announced, you've got yourself, obviously George Liddard and Tyler Denny, and even the Jimmy Sains fight beneath yourself. Three great domestic fights, and I was like, that's what we need in British
Yeah,
boxing right now. Away from the brightest lights and the Saudi cards and whatnot, is we need good 50-50
yeah.
fights on British soil. So speaking about the business side of the sport a little bit, as you say there, part-time scaffolder, full-time boxer, how do you balance that having to go to work every day and getting in the gym and getting the work done?
Yeah, it's probably, to be honest, it's the other way around, isn't it? But um, yeah, it's hard. You know what? This camp, I'm with a good company, you see, in Altrad. They have looked after me, to be honest. So I've had a bit of a steadier job this camp, but I have been doing a lot of hours, you see. So I'm working away from home, in Hull. So I live in Grimsby to Hull. It's about, I'm traveling probably 2 hours of the day. I'm training twice a day. I'm working long hours. But you know what? I always say to people, like, especially lads at work and that, like, how do you, you know what I mean? How do you do it? I think when you want something in life, you do it, and you'll always find a way, regardless. If you want to do it that bad, you'll work hard. You'll find a way. You'll stick to what you do best. Stick to what you know, and between you and the team, you work it out between you so you can get the best camp. To be honest, the training later at night is probably going to be a bit beneficial to us, to be honest, because I've always done my sessions around, 5 o'clock maybe, and never fight at 5 o'clock. I don't think I've ever boxed at 5 o'clock. I'm always on at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So now we're getting the latest sessions in. Um, I think it's going to be quite beneficial because my body's used to training hard at training hard at 8 at night, at 9 at night. So I think that's going to be another thing what's just adding to the motivational side of things. Like I think it's added things to us to be getting your body used to waking at that time, because that's when we're going to be fighting. It's probably going to be around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So yeah, I think it's all going to be good. You find the balance and you just stick to it, and it just becomes routine. Then we're in a good routine. We've got a last hard week of training, last week at work, and then that's me. Then I can focus on getting the last couple of pounds off and chilling and just enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds daft, but like one of my most recent fights, I say recent, it's a couple of years ago now, but I'm an early riser and I go to bed early. I
Yeah,
go to bed like 9 o'clock, and I think
yeah,
I fought at like quarter to 10, and I'm like doing my warm up, like yawning, because I'm
yeah,
normally home
yeah,
from training by 8 o'clock and getting. So, like you say, it is important to acclimatise to training
yeah,
at those times, and it can be highly beneficial. But I think people don't realise how many domestic fighters and even some higher level fighters are also holding down full time jobs. So
yeah.
on that business side of the sport, I saw your promoter Carl Greaves say that last year was like quite frustrating for you. Can you just talk about what 2025 was like in your eyes?
Well, I did pick up an injury, um, which made me have to pull out. Well, I was meant to box for the Midlands title, so we was going to start right down at the bottom again, and get that area title in the lightweight division, and then be able to push on for the English title. But I picked up an injury earlier in the year, so we got through that. We got that sorted. Great physio, got all that done. So I put that frustration behind us. I probably had more frustration in boxing with pull-outs and fight nights cancelled and stuff like that than I have the good side. But yeah, and then it come to later on in the year, and we accepted. They offered us Frankie Stringer in Leeds Arena. So I was like, yeah, oh, you know what, ace fight. That's made up for the rest of the year now. And then unfortunately, that wasn't supposed to be, because the fight got cancelled 2 days before. luckily I did get a late replacement. And you know what? I couldn't. The full week was just terrible. Like after that happened and that fight got cancelled, my coach got ill. He wasn't going to be there, and then on the day he decided he's going to come and stuff. It was it was a terrible week all in all. It was the only fight I've ever gone into, and I was like, you know what? I just want to get it done, and I just want to get out. I'm going to just put boxing aside for over Christmas and then get back into it 2026. And that's what I did. I got the win. I think I won every round. Um, and then moved on to 26 and we got offered this fight. We earlier on in the year, actually, I got offered to box Cameron Vong. But it was in January, and unfortunately, I was pretty gutted about. Actually, I was away half of January, so and where I was, I couldn't. I could. There weren't really. I couldn't get into a training camp. I couldn't do anything. I was literally. It was just after a Christmas break where I was just fed up with boxing. So I was like, I haven't been doing much training. I keep my weight down, but we're running and stuff. But I thought I'm just going to leave the boxing gloves off and put boxing to a side. And unfortunately, I said, "Listen, I can take it at a later date." I did put a counter offer in and say, "You know what? Let's do it on the Warrington card," that one working for them. So I said, "Okay, that's I can't do that." And then literally a week later, they said, "Do you want to fight Giorgio Vizioli for the English title?" Then we had a bit of a fuck about with dates. But yeah, then it finally got over the line. So I was absolutely buzzing and ready to get the year off to a good start and putting all that behind us now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like having put in like the years of hard graft, fighting in
Mm.
the 50-50s, the small halls, as well as obviously your domestic title fights and whatnot, starting to get the opportunities, even if it is in the away corner,
Yeah,
those opportunities are starting to come knocking at your door now, which
yeah.
is a great opportunity for you to go into these 50-50s and pull off the upset and put yourself on the bigger stage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's another thing. I've never turned a fight down. Like, I'm not in the sport to turn. I want to fight the best people. I'd rather. Yeah, I always said like I'd rather have a record that says like 30 wins and 10 losses, but then look back and say, well, you know what? At least I tried my best and I boxed everyone that was offered to me. Because if you're not in the sport for that, then I don't know. You need to look at what do you want out of the game. For me, it's just to fight the best and give people good nights. They come people that pay hard earned money, because times are pretty hard at the minute. They pay hard earned money. They want to come see good fights. They don't want to see you. They don't want to see you fight these. The people that just on their side of the business, which is no disrespect because they're like boxing needs them journeymen and people like that and the great blokes. But you can't go 50, you can't go 30 fights in and only afford and had 30 wins and your best record opponent was fucking 5 wins and 157 losses. It just don't sit right. That don't create any legacy at all. But I'll happily say at the end of my career that I fought everyone that was offered to me. I tried my best, and what'll be will be. And there's some titles to collect at lightweight, and I truly believe that. And there's some massive domestic fights in there. But all eyes on the 21st, and then after the 21st, we'll look at obviously other avenues and see what we can go down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in the UK at the moment, like looking at your box rec, they've got you ranked at 27th in GB, which it seems harsh on the surface until you look at the rankings. And some of the people in these rankings are fantastic fighters
Yeah,
and great fights for you to have in the future.
yeah.
I've got two above you, Arnie Dawson. He lives about 20 minutes away from me. He's a good lad. I wouldn't mind seeing that one in the future.
Is he
But
fighting next week?
yeah, he's on the Frank Warren card in Dublin.
Yeah, is he fighting Stephen Keynes?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, tough fight. Yeah, good
Yeah,
fight.
and again, that's what we want. I was talking about this on the podcast the other day. It seems like the British promoters are really starting to get back to what we saw in maybe like the mid 2010s,
Yeah,
where the whole card is 50-50 fights. We're not
that's what
looking at
boxing's missed.
it exactly. We're not looking at prospects and journeymen. We're now
No.
looking at 50-50s all the way through
Yeah,
and maybe slightly less name value at the very top of the card. But if I'm tuning in as a true fan, I know all these people. I
yeah,
know like yourselves and Giorgio and Jimmy Sains and all of these lads who are getting put lower down the cards. We know them and they're in good, entertaining fights.
yeah.
So Speaking of, the Tyson Fury undercard came out the other day, and on the surface, for a lot of people, they might look at it and go like, "Oh, I don't know who many of these people are. I don't know what's this card about." But it almost seems like opportunities are starting to come up for domestic level fighters. You know, we see some fighters who are on that card, such as Elliot Whale or Felix Cash, who's been out of the ring for a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
There's
Yeah.
there's fighters getting on these cards now who aren't considered to be a much higher level than yourself. I mean, even
No.
Elliot Whale isn't at British title level
No.
contention yet. So it must be quite encouraging for you being co-main on this next card and then seeing the opportunities that are being given to domestic level fighters now.
Yeah, because I'm always you've got to stay ready because you never know if like this full card's been created. I'm not sure how long the fighters are known about it, but obviously, what is it? The 2nd of April, so there's not much time for people that haven't stayed ready. I mean, I'm quite in the boxing circle with a few of them, so I've obviously seen them training quite hard. So they might have known for a while now. But yeah, the opportunities are coming up for fighters, and I think that's how boxing should be because I waited years and years to even the amount of times, like even if you spoke to Cal, the amount of times I think it was 7 times to try get a super featherweight Midlands title, and then it was like, well, nothing's happening, so we're gonna have to go for the English, and then we couldn't. Then we tried Liam Dillon, and the fight fell through. The show got cancelled, I think, on the day or the day before. It was disheartening, and then no more opportunities came, and then you're training, and then you think, well, who's actually gonna fight? Like I don't. And then you get offered a fight at like 4 weeks' notice, and so you fight. Yeah, so that's another reason why you do have to stay ready as such. And like you say now, I think the opportunities are coming for people, and the scene itself. I hadn't looked at BoxRec. I think I've had one fight at lightweight, so I didn't expect me to be that high up anyway. And there is some good names in the division, but after this one, we'll be right up there. And like you say, there is some good lightweight names, and I ain't got nothing personal against anyone in the sport. I just want good 50-50 fights that people look at and go, yeah, that's a good fight. Like, I paid to see them two go at it. Or you don't want to. Obviously, the aim of boxing is it and not be it. But if you get every fight it and not be it, no, it's going to be a boring night, in it. For your non-boxing fans and your people that go there and just want to see a fight. I think looking in the domestic scene, there's a lot more fighters that just come forward, and you're going to get some brilliant fights, especially like I say, like your Annie Dawson, who I didn't see him until before the that Mitchell Smith fight. Which was a good fight. It was a real
Yeah,
good
great
fight.
fight.
And I did look then and thought, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind. I'd love to fight either of them. I've known obviously Mitchell's been on the scene years due to him being, when he was huge years ago. I remember watching him under Frank Warren and thinking he's special, that kid. And then obviously he went off the scene and then sorted his son out now, and he's come back on the scene, winning that WBO title. I think it was WBO European or
Yeah,
something like that. And I thought, yeah, I want these fights, them exciting fights. Because if, like I said before, if you're not in the sport to want them 50-50s, then are you ever going to get on these big stages and give, you're paying support? They don't want to see you beat someone up every time. They want to see you in good fights.
absolutely. So, and I mean, for reference, going by the BoxRec rankings, Giorgio's in at 6, and Cameron Vong, who you were offered for January, is number 8. So, you're being given these opportunities to
Yeah.
put yourself up in amongst those names, and only a couple above them. And I wanted to ask you about this: is sparring partner Maxi Hughes for you? So I'm curious what your rounds with Maxi look like, how much that sort of helped you prep for this fight, and also Maxi stepping in short notice on that Dublin card for Pierce O'Leary. I wasn't sure when I saw it get announced. I made a point of saying to people, if Maxi's been training hard, this is a hard night's work for Pierce O'Leary.
Oh, mate, he's going to beat him.
Yeah, it's a much harder fight
Honestly,
than Mike
like
Chamberlain.
I've just done with yesterday. We did 10 rounds. We did 10 rounds sparring. I think he's got another 12. I think he's doing like 12 rounds or something. He's got so many more rounds left before the week's out. He's mate, fantastic shape. Maxi don't stop training. I'm quite confident he's going to go in and do the job. It's a big ask because Pace is a good fighter. I'm a big fan of Pace O'Leary. I like fighters like Pace. They come forward. You know what you're getting with them. They come forward and they have they're like them toe to toes. But I think the experience of Maxi and what he's done is, and every time he's been the underdog, he shows. And I think if he gets through the first couple of rounds, I think it'll be quite a one-sided fight with his boxing ability. But yeah, that'll be another good fight. But yeah, he's looking great, mate. I've sparred Maxi for years now. I think he was the first ever person I sparred about 7 years ago, 8 years ago when I turned over. So yeah, we've got a good friendship really. And he comes down to Grimsby, he gives me rounds. It's good. It's really good, and it helps us, especially with Giorgio. He's a southpaw. You can never really get a duplicate of a fighter that you're into box, especially someone like Giorgio, because there aren't many fighters like that, and that's a credit to him because about obviously how sharp and stuff he is. You don't get many fighters like that. But I think the technical and the moving and stuff like that. I think Maxi and Corey O'Regan have been perfect, to be honest. So yeah, but yeah, next week's a real good card, and I think that step in. I was quite gutted actually when I see Chamberlain get an injury up because I thought oh, that's a real good fight, Chamberlain and O'Leary. But yeah, Maxi stepping in, what a barnstormer! It's going to be a good night for Maxi, that, and two-weight world champion.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, it must be encouraging for you. You know, like you say, you've sparred with him for years, so you've
Yeah,
almost been along that journey as well.
yeah,
But seeing, he got robbed blind against George Kambosos, who was
yeah.
obviously undisputed champion. Doing rounds with Maxi and being in and amongst fighters of who have operated at that higher level than yourself, it must fill you with so much confidence knowing that you're operating at such a high level going into the domestic level fights.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, your fights are won in the gym. Yeah, you've got to go on the night, but that night's like 5% of what's happened the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. People don't see that, but the early mornings and the late nights, people don't see that side of it. But yeah, that's where your fights are won, and it's been perfect preparation for us, especially this time with it. It was same with the Stringer fight; it was perfect because southpaws and it was good. I know Stringer was different, but the same again. We had good sparring in. It's technically good, and we've always sparred the higher lads because that's where you learn. That's where you learn your craft and put yourself right in the deep end and get swimming rather than sinking.
100%, as you say, and the domestic scene at lightweight. I think the move up to lightweight is obviously been fantastic for you in terms of your physicality and being able to not cut quite so much weight, but also the opportunities at the weight are absolutely incredible. And I'm looking forward to seeing after this next fight where you go next, whether it's the British title fight with Louis Doherty or if another opportunity presents itself. But I always like to, as we start wrapping up the pod, ask the same question because I'd like to think as people come on the pod, they'll come on again in future and we can sort of look through their career as we go. So in a year's time, where do you see yourself being in your career?
Um, it's an hard one because I don't really like to because of how unlucky I've been in the past. But really, in a year's time, I'd like to see myself being a champion at lightweight for sure. Which title? The English. The English definitely. Whether we can pick up that British, I know. There's quite a few names after Louis Doherty. I think there's quite a few names calling him out. So I think he's got an hit list of about 50 people. So I ain't going to come on and start calling the British champion like out. I imagine he's going to be trying to look for the European and say, hey, you lot fight out between yourself. But there's some, like you say, there's some great names in the lightweight division and people that I'd love to have a tear up with. So, yeah, in a year's time, I'll be a champion at lightweight, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, 21st of March at the Copper Box, Giorgio Visioli. How do you see the fight going? And obviously, I know who you're going to say is going to win, but talk me through a little bit what the fight looks like and the final result.
Listen, I'm going to go in and outbox him on the back foot, I think. Uh, Now, I don't know.
You never
March
know.
20,
Catch him off guard.
yeah,
Catch him off
catch him
guard.
off.
Sit on
Yeah,
that back leg.
I don't think it'll be much of a fun fight. But no, you know what? Yeah, March 21st, it's going to be. I'm expecting a very, very tough night because physically I've got to work very, very hard. But at the end of it, I'm going to be crowned English champion, and it's going to be worth every bit of effort that's going to be going into March 21st. It's going to be a tough fight 'cause he's very sharp and he's very good on his feet. But it's for me to cut the ring off, be in his face for 30 minutes. It's going to be a very hard night for both of us. And I'm very, very prepared for that. And I'm going to come out champion.
Absolutely, mate. So Levi Giles, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on the Fight Game podcast and wish you all of the best for your fight on the 21st of March. I hope you bring back the belt to Grimsby, and I look forward to talking to you again soon, mate.
Tommy, thank you for having us on, mate. I very much appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome, mate. Best of luck. See you soon.
Thank you, mate.
Top man.